In the 1940s, British India put a writer on trial, not for betrayal, not for proactive violence, not for opposing the empire. Her crime was writing a short story. A story so subtle that prosecutors struggled to identify a single obscene word, yet they insisted it threatened public morality. When asked to defend herself, the author calmly challenged the court. Show me the obscenity. No one could. She was acquitted. But the controversy transformed her into one of the most fearless voices in South Asian literature. Her name was Ismat Chughtai. She did not merely write stories. She forced society to confront the truths it had spent generations hiding. She was one of the most prominent feminist voices in Urdu literature. This is the extraordinary story of Ismat Chughtai, the fearless writer who refused to be silenced. Ismat Chughtai was born on 21st August 1915 in Bedua in present-day Uttar Pradesh, India. She was the youngest among 10 children in an educated Muslim family. Her father, Mirza Qasim Beg Chughtai, served as a senior government official, and the family frequently moved across northern India. Unlike most girls of her generation, Ismat spent much of her childhood with her brothers. Instead of quietly learning domestic skills, she challenged them at everything. She played football in the streets, she climbed trees, she rode horses, she asked questions adults prefer not to answer. From an early age, she discovered something that would define her entire life. Rules made simply because she was a girl were rules worth questioning. Those early acts of non-compliance were not rebellion for its own sake. They were her first lessons in inequality. Long before she became a writer, she had already begun observing the invisible boundaries that shaped women's lives. Education for girls in British India often ended long before ambition did. After studying in Agra and later Aligarh, Isma's parents believed it was time for her to prepare for marriage. She disagreed. Determined to continue her education, she reportedly threatened to leave home and join a missionary school if she was not allowed to study further. It was an extraordinary stand for a young woman in India in the 1930s. Eventually, her determination prevailed. During her years in Aligarh, she met a remarkable woman who would shape her intellectual life, Rashid Jahan, a physician, writer, and pioneering advocate for women's rights. Jahan encouraged Ismat to look beyond polite society and examine the realities hidden inside ordinary homes. The encounter transformed a curious young student into a writer with a mission. After further studies in Lucknow and teacher training, Ismat chose a profession that allowed her to educate others, but writing remained her true calling. By the late 1930s, a new literary movement was reshaping Urdu literature. The Progressive Writers Association urged authors to confront poverty, injustice, and colonial oppression rather than escape into romantic fiction. Ismat joined this movement, but she brought something uniquely her own. While many progressive writers focus primarily on political and economic inequality, Ismat turned her attention inward. She explored emotional loneliness, sexual oppression, domestic power, marriage, childhood, and the silent suffering that unfolded behind respectable household walls. In 1939, her first published story, Fasadi, appeared in the respected literary journal Saki. Some readers assumed it has been written by her well-known brother, Mirza Azim Beg Chughtai. They found it difficult to believe that such a bold and confident voice belonged to a young woman. They were mistaken. Within a few years, Ismat has established herself as one of the most original writers in Urdu literature. Today, many literary scholars regard her as one of the four great pillars of modern Urdu fiction, alongside Saadat Hasan Minto, Rajinder Singh Bedi, and Krishan Chandra. Then came the story that changed everything. In 1942, Ismat published Lihaaf, meaning the quilt. Its plot appeared simple: a lonely aristocratic woman, a neglected marriage, a child narrator observing events she barely understood. Yet beneath that quiet surface lay one of the literature's boldest subjects: female desire and emotional intimacy between women. Remarkably, Ismat never described anything explicitly. She relied on suggestion, symbolism, and the imagination of her readers. The reaction was explosive. Some praised the story as brilliant literature, others condemned it as immoral. The British colonial government charged Ismat Chughtai with obscenity and summoned her to court in Lahore. Friends advised her to apologize. She refused. Instead, she asked prosecutors to identify the obscene words in her story. They could not, because there were none. The court ultimately acquitted her. Ironically, the trial ensured that Lihaaf would become one of the most famous short stories ever written in Urdu. What had been intended as censorship became the making of a literary legend. The trial never silenced Ismat Chughtai. If anything, it made her even more determined. Over the next 5 decades, she wrote novels, memoirs, essays, children's stories, and dozens of unforgettable short stories. Best known for short stories such as Lihaaf, Chui Mui, Kafir, Genda, she also wrote other works including novels, children's stories, plays, films, non-fictional essays including Ziddi, Ajeeb Aadmi, Ek Katra Hoon, Masooma, Fasad aur Adab, Mera Dost, Mera Dushman, etc. Her language was deceptively simple. Her characters were ordinary people, very often middle-class Muslim families. Women trapped by convention, children watching adults with astonishing honesty. Through these everyday lives, she exposed extraordinary truths. She urged that women possessed emotional and physical lives equal to those of men, a radical idea in much of South Asian society at the time. Marriage, she believed, should never erase individuality. Her work also expanded into cinema after her marriage to filmmaker Shahid Latif. She wrote stories and screenplays for several films and later co-wrote the acclaimed partition film Garam Hawa, widely regarded as one of India cinema's greatest achievements. She even appeared briefly as an actress in Junoon, directed by Shyam Benegal. Whether writing fiction or film, Ismat remained committed to one principle: truth mattered more than comfort. The woman once accused of corrupting society eventually became one of its most celebrated literary figures. In 1975, she received India's Padma Shri for her contribution to literature. Later honors included the Iqbal Saman, the Ghalib Award, and recognition for her work in cinema. Yet awards alone cannot explain her legacy. Readers continue returning to Ismat because her stories remain shockingly modern. She wrote about subjects many still find uncomfortable: gender inequality, desire, family power, hypocrisy, loneliness, and the quiet courage required to live honestly. She passed away in Mumbai on 24 October 1991. In keeping with fearlessly independent spirit that had defined her life, her body was cremated according to her own wishes. Decision that challenged convention even in death. Choghtai's unfinished autobiography, Kagzi Hai Perahan, was published posthumously. Today, Ismat is remembered not simply as a controversial writer, but as one of the greatest voices ever to emerge from Urdu literature. Ismat Chughtai once turned the ordinary lives of women into extraordinary literature. She believed that silence protected injustice, while honest words had the power to expose it. More than 80 years after Lihaaf first appeared, her work continues to inspire readers across languages, generations, and borders. Her literature has been widely translated into other languages, most notably in English. She did not seek controversy, she sought truth, and history remembered those who refused to remain silent when truth is inconvenient. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for true story of one courageous, intelligent, and persuasive extraordinary woman at a time you may never have heard of before. This channel is for you.